I think we'll have a shot at beating Fnatic, and I think we would win against Cloud9, you know. I don't want all the Americans to hate me because I said a lot of harsh words about NA, I think, during this interview.
And when you turn bad, you're going to come to NA, so you want to make sure you still have NA fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is exactly what is my point. So I'm very sorry. I love
of course
food and your bacon and burgers and like girls and everything. But I think, yeah, I mean, you have also good teams and good players for sure, you know. And most of it was banter. But yeah, I think I will still win against Cloud9.
Right, this is going to be episode 33 of Listen Loco. That's right, it's not over. Series is still going. Everything's not so black and white, even though we had a checkered past. A little bit of an Easter egg then. You won't know what the fuck I'm talking about, Loco. Don't worry about that. So I'm just raising the level up. Right, so on episode 33, our guest, a lot of symbolism on that, you know. Our guest for this episode is in a room that's more of a mess than a Fnatic off-season. It is, of course, Jankos from G2. Hello, Jankos.
Hey everyone. Yeah, like I said before, this is not really my room. This is my KX room. So I wanted to clarify it because, well, my room is not a mess, okay? Not my room.
Now I can see why his mechanics are so good. That's the only thing in his life he focuses on. That's the only thing that's tidy, that he does exactly right. Everything else is just chaos around this guy.
Yeah, it seems like it, yeah. I mean, I even closed the wardrobe because it's a mess as well, but let's not get into that, okay? It's just doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think that wardrobe actually is the old H2K gaming house, isn't it? Right. No, maybe I'm mistook that, whatever. Anyway, just a joke for people who know about the LEC there. So, right, let's start the show then. So, Jankos, obviously, the main team everyone wants to talk about on these shows is G2 anyway, because you've only lost one time in the LCS. That was that great game against Origen. What's the season been like? What's the new G2 like for Jankos?
Well, I think that the team is good, you know. I feel like we have very talented players in the roster, so it feels like the games are not that difficult because we are all experienced and we all know what to do at every part in the game. And obviously we make mistakes and, you know, there's still stuff to learn and we still need to play better as a team. But, you know, so far we have been very dominant in Europe, I would say.
Okay. Right. Since over in NA, Team Liquid's also been really good. You know, they've won most of their games, but they get criticized all the time because they just play like super safe. The game goes to the end, waits forever, and then they win. And then it feels kind of like it's like if I'll take the older brother holding the little brother away with his hand, like you can't punch him, you know, you can't reach him. So everyone always says that means like NA is not good. Is G2 dominating Europe? Does that mean that the rest of Europe isn't that good? Is it too easy for you guys?
I mean, I think Europe is, like, most of the teams are not that bad. I think Team Vitality is pretty good. They have their own style of always playing aggressive. And for example, they were really bad when the split started, but they actually improved quite a lot. And right now I would place them as the number 2 team. And not only because they beat us, but also I saw them play in scrims and I know how good players and how good of a team they are. So I feel like they are number 2. You know, this week didn't really go too well for them and they went 0-2. But overall, I feel like, you know, we have some good teams in Europe.
Wait.
And a Fnatic. Fnatic's bouncing back right now. Oh.
You think they're going to make it?
Fnatic.
Wait, do you mean OG or Vitality?
A lot of fans, so I will say I really believe in them.
No, he thinks Fnatic's going to come back. They're coming back.
No, he said he would rank Vitality second because Vitality beat them, but Vitality never beat them. Do you mean OG?
No, I said I would rank Origin second.
Oh, Origin second, okay.
Vitality is like a good team, you know? I'm not saying they are like second or third, but I feel like you can count on them to perform well sometimes.
Okay, fair enough. Right, Loco, this is where you have to give us some insight. Tell us about G2.
What's there to say? They're really good. They play a lot of style. Do you guys feel like you guys play overly aggressive? And do you guys kind of not care about the game? So before this episode and yesterday, I watched a lot of mic check for EU LCS and also G2. You guys are like joking around so much during the game where I would even say like you guys aren't even taking it that seriously.
I mean, we do take games seriously. It's just our team is full of people that like to joke a lot and even though we are trying to be serious and we are trying to win the game, we still allow ourselves to be a little bit free, and we still joke, you know, in game, out of the game, during champ select, before the game, like just anytime we can, you know.
Do you guys ever felt the need to be serious during the season so far when you lost to OG maybe? Like, hey guys, this game, no jokes. Like, let's take it super serious.
No, not really. I mean, even if in the games we could potentially lose, we were not that serious, no. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I don't think us being super serious and stiff would make us play better.
Sure. Yeah, that's the thing, Loco. Like, I know I had similar skepticism myself in the beginning of the split, especially when they were just completely styling on teams and like they could pick anything they wanted and win the game easily. It looked like, yeah, they were just playing totally undisciplined. But to be honest, they've made it work almost every single game now. Like, it's clearly an actual style of play. It's not just like accidental that they're not getting wrecked in these games. So I actually think it's reminiscent of the old Samsung White team where like Monty and them used to always say like, oh, they're just trolling. Look, they're just going like too aggressive and like being disrespectful. It's like, yeah, but Monty, when they do that and they don't lose, they look like gods. Like, that makes you look so intimidating to the opponent that like you can just do anything you want. Everyone just piles into one lane. Everyone just instantly like seizes the moment and just kills everyone and just destroys. That makes you super intimidating to play if you can pull it off. You know, it's like I think as long as you win, there's like a justification to that mentality.
So, Jankos, you've also been having like an amazing split. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I watched a lot of Europe before, but this split, when I watch you, your pathing's really on point. And in the past, I feel like you've been a little bit inconsistent in terms of pathing, where, yeah, this split, your pathing's been really good. You play so much variety of champions, like especially Karthus and all the other champions that come within the meta. Has this split been different for you in any way? Like, is there a reason you're playing like so much better?
I mean, how do I explain it to myself at least is that I think spring split of 2018 last year, I felt like I was playing quite good, and you know, including like playoffs and the regular season. And then in summer split, the funnel came through.
When you were brown man.
Yeah, and I was playing like brown a lot in LCS and LCS back then, yes, and also during Rift Rivals. And, you know, we didn't really play brown that much in scrims, you know. When we started playing the final comp, we had to play it more in scrims and we had to learn it. But then after we did learn it, we played it maybe like once per day or something, you know. So it didn't like take away a lot of my actual jungle games. But I felt like maybe that caused me to make way more mistakes than I would not do in the past, you know, like in spring split, for example. And that's why I felt like I was struggling a lot in summer split. And then I think I finally picked up a bit in the gauntlet and during worlds. But yeah, this year I also have way better teammates. I mean, Caps is insane. Even though Perix was good, he's, you know, still in the team, and we have really good bot lane and we have really good mid and top. So it's also way easier for a jungler to play when your laners also know what to do, you know, and they know they have to wait for you and they don't die randomly. Even though they sometimes do, they don't do it that often.
Oh, okay. I mean, I have to ask a question. Who's better in mid lane, Caps or Perked?
Shit. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I do think Perix communicates more. And I think Caps is more self-sufficient as a player, and I would put Caps above Perix probably. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Makes sense. G2 agrees, obviously. Yeah, that's the one good thing about funnel comp. That's how. If it wasn't for the funnel comp, you wouldn't have any new AD carry. So it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Perix is, he played a lot of ADs. Yeah, like whenever he's off-roll, he did play AD, and he was very confident that he could play AD on like a very high level of Europe, you know. Probably like maybe even the best right now. I mean, we could put Upset and Reckless like up there as well, because it feels like Reckless is like slowly coming back, you know. He didn't really start that well, but now he's picking up, and you know, Upset has been very like great so far in this season, not last year. Yeah, he's up there.
Go ahead. What's your opinion on Broxah? Because a lot of people are saying Caps actually boosted Broxah to look better than he is. Because after Worlds, people were talking about how good Broxah looked, and that Broxah might even be the best Western jungler ever. Like, this is the highest that a Western jungler has performed at Worlds. And then we go to Spring, and Broxah and rest of Fnatic don't look that great. And a lot of people are now starting to say, oh, it was actually Caps that made Broxah look good, and that's why he doesn't look as good, even including all the problems on Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, I think Caps is a player that could make you play better, because if you play around Caps and he is, normally he's better than the opposite laner, and if you play with him, then it's also easier for you to outplay the opponent, because, well, he's just winning, so all you have to do is kind of support him. I think Broxah is, I would not say he's like the best Western jungler, or I would not even say he's the best European jungler, but I think last year he was what Fnatic needed of him, and I don't know how much he does for the team, but I think his mechanics are fine, and I think he can play well for the team. Like, he can follow the calls, he can invent some creative jungle pathing where he's bot lane level 2 and he's diving bot lane if Reckless is pushing, or maybe somehow he'll go behind top lane and he will, get the kill to Beepo. So I think he has the brain, he has the mechanics. None of it puts him like above the rest, because I think we have a lot of talented junglers in Europe. And he's not anything special either, I think he's very like stable, like he always plays well, but I don't think he's like type of player that will actually like carry the team.
Okay. Right, let's talk about Fnatic then, because obviously, even with losing Caps, people thought they would be a very good team. They should be one of the teams near the top, competing for the title, and even with the last few games they've won, still on a losing record, still got a really tough run to the end of the split if they want to make some sort of real impact on the playoffs. What do you think's gone wrong? What's wrong with Fnatic?
Well, I think Caps was obviously the carry, and when he left the team, I think they had some issues. I mean, I don't know, I was not inside the team, but I would assume that if Caps decided to leave the roster, and also I believe Nico De Pico left from the coaching staff. No, wait, not Nico.
Dylan. That was years ago.
Yeah, excuse me. So Dylan left and Caps left. So they probably had some issues inside the team. And now when Caps left and he was the main carry of the team, then the team is kind of collapsing, because as much as Nemesis can play well, he's not Caps. He will not carry the game alone. He's new also. He's a rookie. He never played in the LEC, LCS, whatever. And I think right now all the issues just kind of came true to them, Like, maybe they also got too cocky. Like, maybe they thought, holy shit, we went to the finals, world finals, and we are actually like so good. But in reality, they were not that good, Like, teams can catch up, and also you can get worse during the off season. So that's why I think they had a rough beginning, because the players didn't try their hardest, and at the same time they were actually not as good as they thought they were. But now it feels like they went back to the play style where they just give everything to Reckless and hope Reckless can carry, and Reckless actually became better as well right now. He plays well, he doesn't lose as many lanes, he's abusing his picks, and he did carry a couple of games. And I think if they continue playing against Reckless, I don't think they will like become the best team in Europe, because if that's their only style, I don't think botlane is as OP as it was in, I believe, season 7, was it? The Arden meta during Worlds?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think botlane is that OP anymore, Like, other roles can carry as well. But, I mean, in Europe, and especially right now during the season, I think it will work for them, I think they will.
Okay. The thing is, I agree, Fnatic's gotten better the last few weeks, but I personally don't think they're going to be a top team this split. Maybe they can be next split if they get this shit together, but like as you were describing there, the fixes they've made is kind of like in English we would call it like band-aid fix. Like, you just put a sticking plaster over a wound, and like you're still going to bleed out of it. You have to do something important about the wound, but for today it'll be okay. But it's not going to last a long time. Like as you say, they've basically just given up the top lane. Like, they're not even trying to make Whippo the carry, who was obviously one of the best players at Worlds. They're just playing around Reckless basically, which can work. He's still obviously a good player, one of the best we have in Europe. But I don't think that one style can make you win this split, because there's too many. Like, that's the thing about this split that's very interesting is after G2, so many teams can beat each other this split. Feels like almost everyone else can, except for the bottom two. Like, positions 2 to, like, 8 can all beat each other. It's crazy. It's going to be really hard for Fnatic to win a lot of games to get to playoffs.
I also think mentally for Fnatic, it's really hard because G2 obviously took caps and they're in first place by a big margin, and you're always getting compared to that. And people are always asking all the Fnatic members, hey, what's it like not playing with caps? What's it like playing with Nemesis? And not even just that, if you compare them to last year and the kind of success they had, like winning both splits, going to Worlds, making finals, like any time they get compared, it's to 2018 Fnatic and also to 2019 G2. So even if they are slowly getting better, the expectation for them and how people view them and also how they view themselves, I think is going to be really, really harsh on them in terms of pressure, in terms of mentality.
Sure. There is one positive though, which is if you are a really hardcore Fnatic fan, which means you're probably like a 14-year-old girl. This is the best time for you because now Reckless is streaming and he's letting all those emotions out. He's letting us all know how he feels inside, what's going wrong in the team, you know, all the things he wishes he's done differently. You're getting to see that sensitive beating heart that we all knew was in there, but he's just so Swedish, you know, can never find out who this guy was. So congrats to the Fnatic fans, I guess. Right? You know, it's a different type of split, but you know, you get to see a different side of these players.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of new that Reckless is streaming because I think that's like the first time he's actually streaming almost every week. So when he started, I was thinking they actually gave up, you know, and he's just going to stream now and like
so it looks like
doomed. But I mean, now they did win some games, and I'm looking at the rankings right now, and they are number 8, and they have only like 1 win. They are 1 win away from, you know, being tied with SK, Origin, and Misfits. So I think it's still possible, you know, and if they kind of keep performing and they don't break down mentally, and I don't even know like what is it inside of the team, if they actually like each other or if they hate each other or like what's happening. But if they don't break down mentally and they can like pull out some wins, then they'll have a shot to be in playoffs. And then if they are in playoffs, then, you know, we will see what happens.
Sure.
What's your
I know what you mean. Like when they lost that many games, it did look like they just came and told Reckless, right, Fred, you're going to have to start streaming, mate. Someone's going to do something around here. He's like, you know, I went so many years without doing it. Like, get on that stream now and get emotional as well. We want to get some fucking fire in this shit.
What's your opinion on Bwipo? Because people are so high on Bwipo. I mean, it drove Storin crazy saying like Bwipo is better than Soaz. Like, if you ever want to piss off Storin, just say that. But yeah,
I'll just let reality see who was better in the end. As usual.
What's your opinion on Bwipo now that we actually get to see him play outside of Worlds and get to see more of him?
I mean, I met Bwipo and he, you know, first time I played against Bwipo was when he joined Fnatic, I think back last year. And he was always performing really well on carry top laners. And I would see Soaz as like the main tank player and Bwipo as the main carry player for Fnatic when it comes to top lane, because it felt like Soaz is way smarter to move around the map and to not lose lane or maybe win the lane without resources. And then Bwipo was kind of the opposite. If you give him the resources, like, you know, Brox out power on Bwipo, then Bwipo could, you know, get some kills and maybe he could snowball the game towards Fnatic's favor. So that's how I saw Bwipo. Right now, though, I don't feel like he's playing that well, nor on tanks, nor on carries. And, you know, it could be different reasons. Maybe his honeymoon phase with Fnatic is over and now, you know, he's not as insane as people thought he is. But maybe it's actually team issues and maybe people still has like the fire inside of him and he will actually, you know, perform really well. I always thought also Wunder was better than Bwipo was. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, like, how does that impact like the standings of the top laners, but like I just don't know how good you think Bwipo is, you know. But I always thought that Wunder was better also, but I thought Bwipo was probably like the second best carry player in Europe, you know, like the top lane carry player.
Oh, well, let's move on to Vitality. This is a team I absolutely hate watching. They're very sporadic. They're sometimes overly aggressive, and a lot of times they don't have structure to how they play. So they're not the type of team I like, but they're second in standings. So have to give credit where credit is due. They know how to win, and the way they play works for them. Like, what's your general opinion on Vitality and how they play and how good they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think they didn't change their play style since 1.5 years now. I think they play. I mean, I like how they play. They play really aggressive. They pick winning lanes. They play to snowball. They play for Jizuke to have a one. Like they usually play 1-1 comp with winning mid lane, winning top lane, and if their bot lane doesn't lose, then they tend to win the game, because what Mowgli or Kikis before would do is just invade enemy jungle with stronger matchup, and then Jizuke would have his 1v1 mid lane that he would pick like a cheese assassin or a 1-3-1 outscaling pick at some point inside lane, and he would play with that like he saw during Worlds, during playoffs, during season. Same for Cabochard, he prefers those like lane bullies, so he can actually lane bully his opponent and then snowball the game through that. I think it's just kind of, I wouldn't say it's similar to our style, because I feel like we can play more than just winning lanes, but it feels like Vitality is kind of a team that just wants to snowball through lane. They want those winning lanes, and they want to either 1-3-1, either 1-4, and they want to just perma-invade with Mowgli. I don't actually think Mowgli is much better than Kikis is, but maybe I don't know something. I feel like their playstyle with Mowgli didn't change, it's just a different name when I look at the jungler. And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, that was a really weird swap up for me too, because I thought when they got Mowgli, they would be more standard, and you got a Korean jungler because you want to play more Korean-like, you want to play more macro-oriented, you want to play the game slower. Oh, that's why they picked up a Korean jungler, because they want to move away from the kind of style they were last year. But they're the exact same team from last year with a Korean jungler. If you're going to be the exact same team as last year, why not keep Kikis? Like, that was a really big question for me also.
I mean, I don't know about other teams, but I know that in Europe, during 2015, 16, 17, there was like a Korean hype. Everyone would want Koreans in their teams because everyone thought Koreans are like the best. Mm-hmm. And right now we are slowly moving away from it. I feel like 2018 already and 19, people didn't look for like as many Korean players in the rosters, because we have enough talent here in Europe, and some Koreans don't communicate that well. They don't speak English. They live far away from home, and during the season they can get homesick, and suddenly from like a good player you have a terrible player because he's overthinking a lot of things. So they picked up Mowgli, and they probably thought that maybe he has like insane mechanics or insane game sense, or I don't know what they thought. But yeah, the team just kind of looks similar. I think Mowgli is better than Kikis though, not by a huge margin. And I think Kikis is way used to the style he played in Vitality, and now he's trying to play similar style in Rogue, and it's really not working. But I don't know if we want to talk about Rogue.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I really want to touch on like the Korean point, because that's a huge thing that Europe has over NA. The abundance of talent that you guys have through Master League, through just having great solo queue and having so many players. In NA, the amount of imports is going up every year. Every year, the amount of import is going up. So technically, you're not allowed to have more than 2 import per team. But due to residency rules, NA is currently at, I think, like 25 or 26 import out of the 50 slots. So they broke past your maximum imports you're allowed to have was 20 out of 50. But now we're breaking.
You accomplished something.
Well, you guys are slowly becoming good. You just need to bring all the Europeans, all the Koreans, slowly. And
eventually, when NA is just Korean Challenger League, then maybe they'll start competing. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun.
And EU, on the other hand, is lowering the amount of Koreans every year while still keeping a high amount of rookies. So yeah, there's an influx of new talent every year and kind of an exit for the Koreans, which is good for the future of EU.
Yeah, I mean, I think Korean players are not that insane. I mean, it's good to, for example, One Hand Thieves, they bring Someday and Bank, right, to their roster. And I think those players are very experienced and they should be able to lead the team. But normally, I think it's better to invest in like young players from Europe or NA maybe, and hope that they can become good. But I feel like maybe players in NA, they get spoiled with all the money and all the good life they have, and that's why they just don't treat the game as they should be. They don't actually want to become the best. They get comfortable and they just live their life, That, I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't flame NA that everyone is like that, because for example, you have great players in NA as well, right?
Oni-san, you can flame. It's okay.
1 or 2. Yeah. here and there. Right? The thing is, I know why people don't like Vitality. Like like last year, they were even worse for this. Whenever I used to watch them play and they won a game, sometimes it did feel like, oh, what the fuck? They shouldn't have won this game. That was bullshit. You know, they just got lucky, or they did some like brain dead move here that won them the game. Like, oh, why were they doing that? You know, against like some better team, at least what I thought on paper were better teams, you know, like Misfits and stuff. But actually, I have to say, the more you watch Vitality, even though they are doing lots of like sort of cheeses, they're not just doing it like randomly, and they're not doing the same thing every time. They're tweaking it up every single time. So it's not like it's easy to read what they're doing. So I don't know that it works in like best of 5 series. Like I don't think they can win the LCS. But the fact that they're number 2 right now, if anything, just shows how some of the other big names have fucked up this season so far. Like Misfits, Orihun, Fnatic haven't been at the right level. Because for me, if those teams were all like as good as they should be, Vitality would still be a good team. It'd be like a playoff team, but they'd be like the 4th team or something, you know. I think that's like realistically where it's fair to put them, you know, because like that style of play, I don't think in proper series play you can do that like 5 games and win. It's getting pretty tough to do.
I mean, it's kind of tough to do, but at the same time, you have to think about it. It's like annoying to play against it, you know.
Of course,
like it's kind of annoying to get, you know, like you know your opponents always look for those winning lanes, and they will always look for the snowball in early game, and yeah, you kind of don't want to let them do that, but at the same time, how do you not, you know, how do you make them, like, how do you stop the bleeding, you know? Do you make a draft in a way where you have winning lanes and then you kind of play similar style to them? Or do you just play smart in the early game and you don't get into those fights? Like, how do you actually play against Vitality? And I feel that's what some teams in Europe struggle against. They don't actually know how to stop the bleeding, and they get into like the fighting area with Vitality, and Vitality is like, you know, they ended the game 2 or 3 times so far where they would just TP on enemy Nexus and they would just end the game, you know. They had like those really crazy endings. So like, honestly, when I'm playing against Vitality, I just really hope they will not TP on my Nexus. But for me, we are not in position, like we were never losing, I feel like. I mean, this season and last season, we were never like actually super behind when playing against Vitality. Actually, no, one game we got really stomped. But otherwise, yeah, that was like the home game plan, you know. We just lost the early game and we just lost the game really hard, so happens. But this year, I mean, we played against Vitality once, and I felt like it was a pretty decent game from us. So they had, you know, they picked their winning lanes, but they made a mistake, and we just snowballed, and it was really lost for them. Because if they pick winning lanes and they make a mistake and they don't actually snowball, it's over. Like, just lost the game.
Oh,
like Loco.
Wait,
you know,
can I bring one point?
Yeah, okay.
So for Vitality, I think a lot of credit goes to, I mean, Jizuke or Attila because of like trash talking a little, and Mowgli because, I mean, Mowgli's a Korean jungler. Oh man, people love Koreans. Like, let's give credit to them. I think Cabochard actually goes very underrated a lot. Where do you currently have Cabochard? Because Cabochard rarely gets help from his jungler, maybe once per whole game, and he always does his job, and he usually does it better than the other top laner, who probably got to counterpick him, who probably got more ganks than him. Where do you have Cabochard?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cabo is good. You know, he's really experienced players, and he has been playing for a while now, and I think he's a good player. I think he's, you know, also, in my head, I consider him one of the carry top players in Europe because he, you know, he doesn't play tanks. What I do think though about him is that he doesn't play a lot of champions, or at least he's not very comfortable on a lot of champions, and people don't focus on him during drafts, and that's why he usually gets like one of his, like, let's say 2-3 champions that he has, and he's really good at them, and he knows how to snowball the lane with them, and he knows how to play with them because he practices them a lot. But I feel like, you know, for us, I think in our game against him, he was put on Rumble, and I honestly didn't see him at all. Like, it didn't feel like he was in game, you know. I mean, maybe Wunder was just absolutely smurfing. I don't remember the game that much, but I just didn't feel like he was that.
Sure. No, here's the thing, Loco. Since everyone complains this split about the LCS, like, oh, the game's too slow, like, it's not good enough. Because, like, to be fair, there's not many teams that are, like, super proactive. Like, actually, I give TSM credit. They've actually been trying to do that style of play. They just haven't been so great at executing it. If you could send this Vitality team to the LCS, they'd fucking make that league interesting, mate. I would love to see this team just play the whole LCS field. I bet it would be amazing. I don't know if they'd succeed in all the games, but I bet it'd be fucking hype.
I think they would be like top 2. I think they would. I don't know if they would be liquid. It is like very good at not doing anything and winning, but I think they could for sure be top 2, you know, because
Sure.
Liquid has some like solid players, and maybe Vitality would like struggle a bit, like Jensen and Double
Sure.
Lead and Core JJ and like and others, like they are good, you know.
You know,
The thing is, though, like I can already tell Vitality be good because they know what a side lane is. So already every NA player be like, "What's going on? Like, why is there only 3 players in the mid lane? Oh, what is this?" And then Jizuki would be up some weird pick, just wrecking everyone.
I agree. Vitality could get top 2 in NA maybe right now because I mean they're top 2 in Europe, and I do think overall LEC is stronger than NA. So if they can do it in Europe, why can't they do it in NA? The only question I would have for them is how well they would do in playoffs. I think these kind of teams are very prone to doing better in regular season than in playoffs. Like in best of 5 series, in when people can prep for you more specifically over the course of a week, I think this kind of style suffers a lot more.
All right, then. Right, let's move on then. Let's talk about Schalke, because this is a team where the interesting thing about how the split began is like for the first solid 3 or 4 weeks, Schalke was basically the second best team in Europe. They looked really good. Like they looked so much better maybe even than the roster did. They were so polished. They actually had their identity really quick. Unfortunately, they have bled a lot of games away the last few weeks. So what do you think of where Schalke is at, Jankos?
I mean, I think they are for sure better than the Splice. I mean, I'm looking at the standings and they are number 3, tied with Splice. I think they are better than Splice. I think they are better players. I don't know what happened to them really, because I felt like they were actually really good, like you said. And then randomly they started like losing games and they were making really weird mistakes. I don't know what to think about Abedage and Memento, because some games they perform really well and some games they're really running down.
The Zanyas are stopwatch.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that was like a 2v2 mid lane where they kind of like lost the game for the team. So, you know, I think Ignar and Upset and Odwan are playing kind of solid. I never had anything against those 3 players, so I think they can be a solid team, you know. I think Schalke will make playoffs, that's for sure. Just because maybe they picked up a lot of wins at the start of the season. But I don't know how far will they go. And if Schalke would, for example, face Vitality in a BO5, I honestly don't know who would I put my money on, you know. Because apparently, maybe they would prep against Vitality well, and maybe Odwamna would be able to stop Link, you know. Maybe Abadasha would just be fine against Jizuka, and then I could see upset snowballing. But last time those 2 teams faced each other, then I believe Attila was actually on top, you know. So I'm kind of curious of how well they can play Schalke.
I do agree, like their mid and jungle recently has been really shaky. The infamous like the stopwatch game, and even before like the stopwatch game, there was a Yasuo game from Abadage where he didn't look the greatest on Yasuo. So they had a really hot start, and now they're slowing down a little, and the other teams in Europe are slowly getting their shit together. Misfits getting their shit together, Fnatic getting their shit together, where I thought it was really clear, G2 number 1, and then Schalke number 2. Like with OG rising, Misfits rising, Fnatic rising, now it's really hard to play Schalke, and then also Vitality rising. So yeah, pretty hard team to place, and hard to say how they'll do in playoffs, or where they'll even place in playoffs.
Sure. Like you know that famous poster, Loco, from American pop culture? It's a picture of like a really old school looking flying saucer where it just looks like, you know, like a silver circle, and it just says, "I want to believe." And it's for people who like, you know, they love the idea of aliens, but like, could you really believe in it? You know, like there's not really much evidence, is there? So like, that's how I feel about the Schalke team, because all the first few weeks I watched, they looked really legit. Like immediately this team was actually fucking pretty good. Like Memento was doing really, really well. All the other pieces just fit in the lineup. Looked like the bot lane was pretty sick. I was like, this could be amazing. But the problem is, as the season's gone on, like I just don't know that I actually believe in them to like have a chance to win the LCS. Like I feel as though for me, I'm just waiting to find out which one of like Misfits or Origen is going to be legit in the playoffs and is just going to go past all these teams. It'll be Origen G2 or Origen Misfits or something, or G2 Misfits rather. Something like that will be the final for my money, you know. Like I feel as though the problem I've seen with the Schalke team is they got to their ceiling way quicker than so many of the other teams, but they have like hit a ceiling for me. I just haven't gotten better over the last few weeks.
My question is, how good is Memento and Abadage? Because that will answer how good Schalke will do. So Selfmade and Purian aren't pushovers, but they're not even the best 2v2 duo in EULCS. And Memento and Abadage were kind of struggling versus them too. So when they play versus the better 2v2 duos, like how are they gonna do? Like, is Abadage gonna come into his own more? Is Memento gonna be better and better? Like, I think that's the really big question you have for Schalke.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that if they play as they played before, with like kind of confidence and maybe more through bot lane and less through mid lane, which maybe would make them do less mistakes as well. Maybe they'll pick up more wins, because I honestly think Ignar, and if he's like enabled and Upset if he's enabled, they can like 2v8 the game. Like they're really good bot lane. But I feel like Memento and Abadage were forcing a lot around mid lane, and it's not working that well lately. And I remember them playing around bot lane, and it was a little bit better, So I'm not sure if they should go not to like the Fnatic style, but maybe like take a step away from mid and just think about like how can you make Abadage be fine and be useful for the team, but at the same time, not every game just go mid and try to 2v2 and like kind of coin flip it,
Sure. Like, here's the thing. Of all the new mid laners in the LCS, Abadage's done pretty well. Like, I certainly don't think he had any problems, but he hasn't looked like a star mid laner. Like, if you consider last year, they obviously had Nukeduck in this team. If they could have had Nukeduck this year in the same lineup, this would be a really dangerous team, actually. I think that's exactly the sort of player they would probably need to like take them to the top level. But whatever. The thing about the Schalke team, like I've said on past episodes, is when you look at that lineup on paper, they're clearly not the team that like spent the most money or tried to get like the absolute best players and like, wow, look at this super team. So actually, for where they've been in the table most of the split, I think they've done a pretty good job. Like, it's very respectable what they've managed to accomplish.
Oh, kind of a random question, but I wanted to fit it in before we move on to the other teams. So there's like very unique picks to EU LCS or LEC right now. Most notably Karthus Jungle, Kennen, Draven. Can you go a little bit on Karthus Jungle? Because you're obviously a player that plays a lot of Karthus Jungle, and teams have been contesting Karthus Jungle versus you. Like, how does it fit into the meta, and like, why is it good, and why do you think the other regions aren't playing it?
Well, I mean, I think maybe games in LCK are still a little bit slow when Griffin is not playing. So Karthus would not do the job of pressing R and killing everyone. And I think with our team, it's just kind of how it works, because I feel like my laners are really talented, they're really good. So they don't lose lanes. And then when I get level 6, there is like so much extra pressure on opponents, When you play against Nocturne, for example, you're kind of scared of his ult. But if you track him, he can, you can still play against him because his ult is like not global. But when you play against Karthus, you have to count this around, 250, 300 extra damage from level 6, for the entirety of the game. And it just like keeps growing. So I think it's really annoying to play against it. And since we have good drafts where we flex pick and we tend to get good matchups, Karthus is really good, because if my team plays to their limits, I usually get kills for free. And on top of it, I don't think there is much you can do against it when it comes to jungle clear, because I think he has the most free time of any jungler in the game. Like, he just clears camps so insanely fast, and sure, he's not the strongest duelist, because if, Jarvan, Lee Sin, whoever gets on him, he will probably die. But if you are not in your jungle because he already cleared it as he invades, then he can't really do much, right? And I think playing defensively in the early game and covering your jungle is not difficult. So that's why I think Karthus is a solid pick.
Okay.
I think
what do you...
early...
Yeah, go on.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. What do you mean, Loco? Why did you call that an EU pick? I happen to know that the fine jungler Rush in the LCS plays Karthus Jungle. Oh, he tries to anyway, so there are some people picking it.
This isn't even an NA episode. Stop shitting on Rush.
Whatever. Anyway.
We covered Schalke, we covered Vitality. Origin. Yeah, I mean, Dorn, what do you think about Origin so far?
Like, here's the funny thing about the Origin team compared to most of the other squads in the league. Like, they look like the team that has made the most legitimate actual improvement from the very beginning of the split to now. Like, you saw they had good players at the beginning of the split. It's not even like they were total shit in the game. They were just always off with like whatever the fuck they were trying to do. That's why so many players just got caught out in lane bizarrely, or making some bizarre rotation that like was just slightly too quickly here, or you wait too long there. So like, as bizarre as that sounds, I didn't think that was actually like the end of the world, because like, as you see, they've tuned it up over the weeks as it's gone on and on. Remember, some of the players coming back obviously, like Mithy wasn't even in LEC last year. He's coming back completely to a new environment, playing with players he's never played with before. So I think, like you said, they're the team for me that they haven't quite made it yet, but they're on like the upward trajectory for me. Like they've got the right pieces. I think they could be a really good team if they get it together. Still some way to go though.
Yeah, I mean, I think Origin, as for now, I think they play really good as a team, and I think that's what puts them above the rest of any other European team. I mean, except for us, I guess, is that they actually know how to play together and they know how to play good macro. And I think Origin players, I wouldn't rate any of them as the best in Europe because, you know, on mid lane I would put, let's say, Caps, on top I would put Wunder and probably Perix, Reckless Upset, and, you know, on support I would put Mikey, and on jungle I would put, but I probably wouldn't put Colt. And even if I wouldn't put myself, I would probably put like maybe
Selfmade
or Selfmade. Yeah, Selfmade's performing insanely well. Like he's probably carrying SK really hard. So I think they don't have like the best pieces, but they do use them well, and they have good macro because of Miffy probably, or because of coaching staff, or because they are all experienced and no one is a rookie. I mean, Sheriff is a rookie and he's good too. So it feels like they'll be a solid team, and I wouldn't be surprised to meet them in finals if we do make it to the finals.
What do you think of Mithy? So watching Origin, Mithy seems pretty mistake prone, and I'm not sure if he was this way in LEC before, where he was this mistake prone, where he does get plays, but he seems to get caught out more so than any other member in Origin.
Yeah, I think Miffy has his own. I mean, he has like his style, and he expects his teams to follow it, and if they do, sometimes it works really well, but if they don't, sometimes he gets caught off guard. And also I think he's like the one normally, you know, going for vision like the most because he's the support player, and for sure he gets caught the most as well, you know. I'm not sure if he's trying to make a lot of plays happen because I'm not in their head and I don't know what goes through their comms, but I think there's a reason why Miffy is getting caught. I hope he doesn't just kind of spaced out and he's just at the wrong place at the bad time, you know. But it looked like this in TSM, you know. In 2018, I felt like Miffy was playing way worse, and I think it's also because of TSM as a whole and not because of Miffy. And I think right now in Origin he's performing better and he can actually like make the team strong, you know. But yeah, he has his int, that's for sure.
Was he like this in 2017? Because did TSM change him for the worse, or was he just like this as a player? I guess it's a question for both Doran and Jankos.
Well, the thing is, I would have said even before he left, when he was on G2, like the problem is G2 won the splits, but like that last year before he left, like they definitely had some problems during the splits. You know, they were just really clutch in the playoffs. Like it wasn't like they were some unbeatable team back then. So I think he did have times where he was kind of shit during the split, but he was one of those players where it's like Soaz. Even if they have a bad few games, you know, by the time the playoffs come, they'll figure it out, you know, and they'll be at a decent level. And they hopefully will perform in the playoffs, and your team will still have a chance of winning.
Yeah, I think I agree 100%. I think even 2017 and 16, he had his games or he had his deaths where he would just die for no reason, or at least that's what, you know, average viewer would think. But I think, you know, in playoffs and when it matters, he was usually performing well.
Okay. Well, OGG2, what haven't we covered? We covered a little bit of Fnatic. What are the other... Oh, Splice. So you guys are going to have to kind of lead me through this one.
Yeah, here you go. I'll make it very simple for you, right? So, Loco, if you've never seen Splice before, imagine that you got Team Liquid and just made all the players worse and had them playing the LEC. There's Splice, right? The game lasts forever, and then all that happens is at the end of the whole thing where you're like, oh, fucking hell, please, mercy, end. Like, they finally just beat you with one last fight, and then the game's over. And then at the end, everyone watching just goes like, oh, fucking hell, I've really got to get a better hobby than this video game shit twist in my life. And then they all go and, I don't know, fucking kiss their mom and start doing hopscotch in the backyard and going, oh, it's brilliant, real life, isn't it? Like, that's what Splice is doing. They're single-handedly putting viewers off the stream. They're so boring. They're so fucking boring. The most boring team in Europe.
So, I've been trying to watch more of LEC, and there's 3 teams that I refuse to watch. The 3 are XL, Rogue, and Splice. And then before doing this episode, I was doing more research on Europe, and then when I checked the standings, I was like, what the fuck? Vitality's 2nd? What the fuck? Splice is 3rd at 7 and 5? Like, yeah, what the fuck? I thought Splice was bad. Like, why are they so rated highly right now?
I don't know. I honestly don't know either. I think they do peak scaling, and like Torin said, their macro is not bad, is not good, is not bad, and they peak scaling, and if they survive early game, they tend to win games, and that's it, kind of. Like, I honestly don't know what else to say about Splice. They are just playing the game, and they hope for the best.
I'll just say this, right? So I don't know if you saw Loco, but there was this very weird incident that happened in the Russian league, the LCL, where there's this team that just for publicity has put like five female players in the game who are all diamond players. So obviously it doesn't matter the female. If you put 5 diamond players in the LCS, obviously they'd get murdered. Like they wouldn't be good enough. So one of the teams, right? The 2 of the teams that played them initially in the Russian league both got warnings from Riot, right? So one of them got a warning because they just banned all support champions, kind of like meme on the other team. But then the other team, this is the point I'm going to make, the other team got punished because they purposely didn't end the game against this team of girls. They just like kept the game going forever until they had like 50 kills. And it was like, by the way, that was only 30 minutes into the game. They kept the game going until they had 50 kills, and then eventually obviously just ended the game. Well, their warning, I was thinking, how have they been warned? Like, it's not illegal to just make the game go long. Like, what if I just don't want to take this team fight? Like, I don't have to. Well, what's funny is I saw someone made a comment that was so good where they were like, wait a minute, if Riot's going to punish this team for just drawing the game out and refusing to end it, why the fuck is Splice allowed to play in the LEC? I was like, he has a point. Whoever made that comment has a fucking point. Because like Jankos said, what's bizarre is, on one level, they clearly do know some of the macro concepts because they do win loads of those games that are really late. But the reason the games go so late is it's not that they're amazing at those concepts, otherwise they would just end the game even quicker. Like they would just find their opportunity at the right time. So I actually personally would put some of it down to the coaching staff, because the guy who's their coach, Peter Dunn, is a guy that I've had on many of my shows before, and he is a guy who seems like a very intellectual like mind for the game. I've seen him, he's one of those people, because he's coached in different regions, has seen like a billion games of League of Legends. Like, it's the kind of fucker where even though he's never going to be an LPL coach, he could probably just tell you like all the top teams in the LPL and how they play, etc. It's like one of those people. So I would imagine he's done a decent enough job coaching them in those aspects. So you look at the lineup, it's not that crazy a team. It's got some decent players, it's not terrible, but I don't know, props to him for winning games. I just don't want to watch him.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I wanted to add to that is that I think some of the players are, like, even though they are not super insane, then I think Kobe or Zerzi or Noskeren or even Humanoid, they can pop off sometimes and get a game where they are absolutely crazy good. So I think, that's also how they win some games. They get lead because one of their players is playing really well, and then they don't know how to snowball that fast, but at some point in 40 minutes they will end the game.
Okay, sounds like a lot of the NA teams. Golden Guardians, Team Liquid, CLG.
Sure.
I'm lucky I don't watch that shit. Yeah. No, I mean, I do watch sometimes. I do watch NA. It's kind of fun, it's like comedy show. No, I really don't want to flame him. I really don't want
there
to
we
flame
go.
him. There we go. I just had to let it out. Like, I was laughing.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, what's your general opinion on NA? Like, what is your general opinion?
No, Loco, that's what people do in Europe. Like, we have a game that we all play for fun, like, would you ever? And we go, would you ever go and join this fucking clown league? What, for like $2 million? How many million would it take? And you're like, I wouldn't do that shit for 1 million. Like, what if it was 10 million though? You're like, I'd have to think about it though. They're like, but what if you had to go and play it on 100 Thieves? You're like, fuck that shit. No, I'm out, man. It's a fun game. Everyone plays at sleepovers in the LEC. Like, it's fun. You should try it sometime. Loco.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, I think teams in NA, for some reason the meta is like a little bit different, and they prefer to play a lot of tanky stuff mid, like top lane, and at some point I just see 5 people mid, and the other team is going 5 people mid, and they are just standing there for 20 minutes, and at some point someone will get chanked and they will get the Drake because of it, and then they will go push silence once and then go 5 mid and just dance around mid lane again. So I don't know like what's the idea behind it, because I don't know if they are scared they have to match 5-man mid lane, or if they just pick for strong team fights, or if the players are scared of going side lane. I don't know, because I don't get into those games enough. I don't watch all of them. I tend to watch Liquid and let's say Cloud9 games. Like when there is like I see big names like sometimes TSM, sometimes Cloud9, sometimes Team Liquid. I do like Crowley, so sometimes One Hand Thieves. I tend to just like look at the game from time to time, and obviously Team Liquid is by far the best team because they actually know what to do on the map, and you know, some decisions are really not even that hard, but when they have to give up the Drake, they will, and they will just go farm side lane, maybe get a turret for it, you know, trade objectives. When they can't win mid lane, they will not just dance around mid. I mean, maybe they will, but not that often. When they know that they can snowball through bot, maybe double it will like carry the whole team, and Jensen is pretty good too. So they have, you know, the players and they have the macro game. So I can see why they are just the best in NA. I don't think they have a lot of competition, but I think they're the best. Yeah, they are a decent team, good team. Yeah.
Loco, wouldn't you say most teams, even to this day, like generally do still draft for teamfight comps, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Just kind of the way it's done in LCS, right?
So in Europe, there's so much Jace and Kennen. So all regions share same 1 and 2 most top lane picks. It's Urgot and Sion. Those are the most 2 picked in all 4 major regions: LEC, LCK, LPL, and LCS. It's where 3 and 4, it changes a lot. I think 3 for NA was Aatrox, and then 3 for EU was Kennen, and then 4 was Jace for EU, where Kennen and Jace are way down in LCS. So yeah, there's a lot of different picks that happen as soon as you take out Sion and Urgot.
Yeah, we can agree, Loco, right, that any top laner playing a really good Jace right now is probably fucking amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, good Jace. Jace is a really strong pick. Flexible, you can blind it.
You know, just saying, just check out the LCK sometime.
Who is the best Jace in the NA?
Who is the best Jace in the NA?
Hodzer, obviously. You know, he's got the track record, worlds, everything.
I would say, I would probably say.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah,
I would say Licorice. I don't even think Licorice is known for his Jace, but just Licorice has been overall the best top laner, and he knows how to play side lane well, and he's played every champion well. So even without like
Dardoch had a good Jace jungle actually. He looked good, you know. He did. Actually, yeah. He looked good. Yeah, like everyone who was joking in Optic, I think they're right. He should just become the top laner. Why not? Then he gets to play. He can already play half the champions anyway.
Yeah, but I would say
I can believe that. I think Licorice is pretty good. You know, I think he can play well. He's like a carry top laner in NA, which doesn't happen often.
Exactly. Respect.
There's like a top...
He's like alone.
There's a top tier team that I'm missing. We covered OG.
Misfits.
Oh yeah, Misfits. So I mean, my viewpoint on Misfits is they had really good pieces, and no insult to Jesse's, but you have 5 very stubborn veteran players. I don't think Jesse's, as a former player going into a head coach role for this kind of team, was the right coach for the job. And we are going to see a way better Misfits and a way more, hopefully, functional Misfits and way more, I would say, together of a Misfit under Moose. So I think they have a lot going for them now.
Well,
what do you think of them?
I think the important word in what you said was stubborn. I think their players are really experienced, but they've been through a lot, and I think they have their own opinions on how to play the game. And I think if they don't solve their issues and they don't put like the team ahead of the individuals, I don't think they will do well. And for me, the issues that they had were mostly because they didn't play well as a team, because you know, people say that Misfits struggle because they are not playing through bot lane, you know, and when they are playing through bot lane, they are winning. But I don't find that necessarily true, even though it looks that way. I feel like it's just that they just need to play with jungle, you know, like when Maxwell is choosing to play with Soaz, then bot lane has to play well enough to not lose the game for the team, and same goes for Fabi. And I think Misfits can be a really good team because they have, you know, a bunch of experienced players, and all of them are very solid players, you know. Soaz, like Maxwell is considered the best jungle in Europe. Soaz, one of the best top laners, you know. Hansama, like Gorilla, Fabian, like all of them are kind of big names, you know. All of them were good in the past, or maybe are still good. And I don't see why they would struggle, but they are struggling. So I have to believe that it's because of how they are as a team, or maybe coaching staff, like you mentioned.
Sure. Like, this is one of those teams to me where it's the reason why I hate interviews where people try to imply that like every single LCS player is like a shot caller. Like, there's no way. Half of them just play the game, like they play their role, because this is a team where all the pieces have been part of good lineups. They've been part of very good lineups in history, but collectively they haven't looked like a very good overall team. And it looks to me like they didn't really have like clear direction. Like, they didn't have like a clear shot calling hierarchy, or like in the game it just looked like people weren't making any sort of calls or anything halfway through the game and just waiting for things to happen. So like the coaching change is one thing you can do. You know, that might tweak things a bit, but you have to change a lot still in this team to make it a really good squad. Like, they have the pieces, I agree, but it still doesn't look that convincing at the moment.
You don't think they can, make playoffs? You don't think they can get to semis?
They can make playoffs, but like whether they actually would be impressive. Like, here's the thing. I guess on the one hand, if they get to an even slightly better level with as good players and as many veterans as they got, they shouldn't choke in the playoffs. Like, they should be fairly composed, but they just don't look like a very dynamic team.
What do you mean by dynamic? I feel like they can play every lane if they need be.
Yeah, but that's one of the problems. Like, when he was saying there that, like, you know, when they win when they play through the bot lane. Like, if you actually look at the players they've got in the bot lane, Hans Sama is someone who already supposedly wasn't a very, like, vocal player. Gorilla literally is having to speak in English and is obviously supposed to speak and think in Korean. So I would say one of the problems they have, logically, is how else can they play the game except through bot lane? Because, like, you can have a hard time communicating between the lanes and actually coordinating them. So probably better if you have an advantage in the bot lane to just play through that.
I don't think they'll be limited by communication.
And by the way, I think Maxwell's been pretty bad this split. I know Jankos didn't say anything, but he's had some really bad games. But he used to be one of the absolute best junglers.
Yeah, and that was something I was going to push him on. I mean, Jankos referred to Maxwell as one of the best junglers, but yeah, clearly he hasn't looked like one of the best junglers. And some of it isn't even communication issues. He's just in completely wrong place at the wrong time. So he's the one that looks like a huge question mark for me on Misfits, because the individual play drop-off, every single player had it, but the biggest ones were Hansama and Maxlor. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with those two players.
Yeah, I mean, I think Maxlor, I think it's, for the jungler, it's really important that team helps you, because it's, I mean, sure, you can be good enough to always know where to be, but sometimes you ask the questions and, you know, hey, do you need help top lane? And then when the top laner says no, or your bot lane says no, and then they die 1 minute after, then, you know, it's not really on you. So I'm not saying I'm not saying that Maxwell should blame his team. I just don't know what's the issue, because last year he was looking like probably the best jungler, you know, and this year he has been struggling and not playing well. And the only games he was actually doing well was playing through bot lane as 3, and they would snowball the game of it. And then whenever he went elsewhere, he was nowhere. And it's fine, you know. I think they will pick up, but they will not be the best. And same goes for SK, you know. I think SK Gaming, I think they have like 2 good players, and they will not be the best. There's just no way, but they have like 2 good players.
They have the 2
good.
They
have 5 solid players, and they'll probably not be the best either. I don't think so.
For SK, they have the 2 good players in the right spots, though, mid and jungle, the most important spots.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the highest you think they could get? Like the highest they could get up in like playoffs, or like if everything goes right for SK, where do you think is the absolute highest they could reach?
I think that if they play against, I honestly think they if they do make the playoffs, they lose the first round, because I feel like Selfmade is probably the best performing jungler in Europe, or like at least the most important, valuable player for his team. Because he really needs to carry the game for them to win, you know. So if, you know, G2 kicks Jankos, or Vitality kicks Mugli, or Schalke kicks Memento, and brings like another player, it's not as high of a drop off as if SK would change Selfmade. That's how I feel, you know. They actually really need Selfmade, and Piran is really good as well. But I feel like if they would, maybe against Splice they win. Against Splice I could see them making top 4. But against Schalke, I think bot lane is too bad. I think Ignar and Upset would just like win the bot lane and snowball the game. And that's why mid lane jungle wouldn't matter as much. And I think against Vitality, I think Jizuka and Mugli can play
just fine.
Fine or well against Selfmade, you know. They are not that special, but they are really good. And, you know, for us, it goes same. I think me and Caps can deal with it, you know. Even if I can somehow deal with Selfmade, which I think I can, then Caps will for sure deal with Piran. And then Origin, I think they are like too good of a team as well. I think Nugdak can perfectly well do it, and I think Cold is a really smart player. And I would never put him as the best jungler, but he's a really smart player. You know, he knows his shit. And then Misfits, if they do make playoffs, it's kind of same. You know, they have just better bot lane, better top lane. So I think I would be worried about SK, because even if mid jungle wins, you never know what will happen bot lane and top lane. And I think Werlip plays well with Selfmade. and that's how they also get their leads. They are like kind of duo queuing. If he's not playing with Piran, but the bot lane is like where they struggle.
So you said they can beat Splice, but none of the other teams. Can I push you a little bit on Schalke? Because mid jungle is where Schalke is struggling the most. If it continues to be that way, isn't Schalke another team that SK could beat?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it, but then I realized that they have up, and I just think Upset and Ignar will make the difference. Because all you have to do is for Memento not to fight around mid lane and to play with bot lane. And, you know, one team will be snowballing through bot lane and the other team will be snowballing through mid lane, probably. But if Abaddage is put on a champion like, well, Lissandra, for example, that he's playing a lot, or, you know, some other mid laner that just kind of wave clears and doesn't fight a lot, then he will for sure not lose against Piran, because Piran also picks champions that are more for team fights, unless he plays LeBlanc, which I think is pretty good champ. I just think, yeah, Schalke like has way too big of an advantage on the duo lane, you know? That's how I feel. But if Schalke chooses to not play the aggressive way on duo lane, let's say instead of playing, you know, some Lucian Draven, I don't think anyone gives Lucian to Upset. But if they don't play like the aggressive style with like Blitzcrank Draven or something, and they play the, you know, Ezreal and some other passive picks that they just kind of farm under tower, then I can see SK winning, because then SK, if they snowball the game, then who cares if, you know, Upset is like the most insane Ezreal and he can literally 1v9 fights in mid game. It will not happen because LeBlanc will just one-shot him. And yeah, that's what I think happened in our game, in fact. I think Caps was like one-shotting him. Yeah, but that's just... I'm always happy when he dies because he has like the best KDA in Europe. So whenever he dies, I'm just smiling. But that's just like... that's just like...
No problem. Yeah.
You're very aware of KDAs. I remember, I forgot whose game it was, where you were really upset at Wonder for leaving him, or leaving you.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just I felt like, I mean, I had the best KDA for like first 5 weeks, and then I had like a game on Olaf or something else that I was dying a lot, you know. We didn't really lose the game, but I died. And then I had a game on Lee Sin where I died another 3-4 times. And then I had my game on Elise where I, you know, didn't die, but then he left me and then I died, and then my KDA is ruined now. So I didn't look at my KDA since like 2 weeks now, because I know it's just like down there probably. I still don't have, like, it's maybe in top 10, 15, but from first to like, you know, 10th in a matter of 1 week, it hurts.
Isn't it refreshing though, like where you don't have to care about your KDA anymore? Like I feel like it gets in players' head when they get like some kind of insane stat. Oh, this player gets first blood 80% of the time. Like you go into game and you're like, holy fuck, I want that first blood stat. Like I want to make sure my KDA is good.
Yeah, I mean, it could, you know. I mean, I don't really think about it that much, but when you start thinking about it, then you can't stop, you know. Like as long as you are not aware of it, it doesn't matter. But then, like I remember in playoffs last year or something, someone like Riot showed a stat that I think my KDA on Zag is like 86 or something, and you know, I don't die, it's really high win rate, and then I was like, holy shit, my Zag is really good, I should play Zag, you know. And then I remember losing Fnatic playing Zag, actually, like when I was playing Zag, but that was just doomed. We couldn't win the final anyway, no matter what I played. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it could get to players' head, yeah. But not that much, you know.
Loco, come on, man. Like, what sort of mad neurosis have you got, mate? Like that when things are going awesome for you, you just start thinking, oh, fuck, it can't last. Oh. Like, if you were walking down the street as a kid and a fucking truck came by and crashed into a car and a toxic waste barrel came off and sprayed onto you and you got fucking mutant powers, you could like climb, you were Spider-Man, you could climb up walls, you'd be going like, whoa, but what if the power lets go when I'm on the wall? Whoa, better just walk actually. Let me test again. Put my hand on the wall. Well, I don't want to test that though. Listen, it could go badly. Like I'd be loving it if I had the sick KD. I'd just be telling people, yeah, what do you expect? You know, I actually am secretly the greatest player ever, right? I didn't want to let you guys know that before. I was taking it easy on you, but now it's my time. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna have 700 KDA. Chovey's garbage.
Okay, Peter Parker. It's not that. It's when you get like an insane stat, you sometimes over-assess about having that stat, and you play too much of a KDA player, or you play too much like, holy shit, I have a 85% Zac win rate. I need to make sure I keep winning when I play Zac. I don't want to play Zac. This seems like a kind of shitty situation. Like
no one wants to end up like Bjergsen season 7.
Oh my god!
Sorry, did someone say that? Sorry, I thought I heard something. Never mind.
Yeah. Come on, it's a U episode. You could have gone for Reckless. You went for Bjergsen. What the
I
fuck?
could have.
Yeah, you should have gone for
It's
Reckless.
because the problem is, I mean, it's funny actually. Reckless has started actually like carrying again now in the LEC because obviously in last year's team he was actually kind of like the old Reckless again. He was just like his lane wasn't the most important one. They just play safe. He lets his support roam. But like the problem is, I actually, believe it or not, Loco, have a hard time making my brain go back to the old Reckless because if you saw the guy in season 7, that guy was actually a stud back then. That was one way he was winning the MVP, but Fnatic was never winning the league. He was actually like playing like a fucking hard carry. It was really sick. So there was like that one sip split where he tried to like become forgiven or something, and then he eventually was like, "No, I'll turn away from the dark side. It's not right. It's not right." And then he became like fucking Luke Skywalker again, didn't he? Like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm back." And he started streaming. Then he turned on his stream. He was like, "Dear diary, today was a hard day. The boys bullied me in the LEC again. I wish Caps would come back. He was my friend." Like, I like it. Fun. It gives you a little bit of drama, a little bit of pop-off. Even, you know something, Loco? He actually even flamed me on his stream. Someone linked me a clip.
Yeah.
There's some clip where he just makes some weird comment that, like, people think he doesn't practice hard or something. He says, "I know Thorin always put the message that, I was just born with a silver spoon. I didn't work hard," which is a really weird comment because I've actually never said anything like that ever. Like, I assume he's done that thing where, like, people think I'm just critical, so they take all the roasts that everyone does and in their brain. I just said all of them. Like, I never said that ever. Like, there's one thing I'll say about Reckless. He has always had a really amazing work ethic. That's actually the reason why that really embarrassing story in his career when he went and joined Elements and they became shit. I actually don't blame him for that. If you knew the story of like how Fnatic which completely checked out and they were like fucking around in boot camps for Worlds, meanwhile the Alliance guys were like practicing all the time. I get why you would join a team like that. I actually can respect people who have work ethic. Whatever.
So I knew Reckless a little bit during like All-Star era, and then when there was an LCS and LEC and teams were a little bit more intertwined. There was still LCS and LEC, but teams were a little bit more intertwined, and there was like a lot of IEMs, like a lot of All-Star. Like he seemed really friendly and like really easy to get along with. Maybe it's because I haven't kept in touch with him or like our paths went different way, but he seems a little bit more standoffish nowadays in terms of like not using social media.
He's been hurt. When you get hurt inside, you can't trust people the same way. You're like, I have to guard this heart. Too many people have betrayed me, left, Caps, obviously. Now he has to lock it up and be safe. He needs someone who can come along. He needs, some kind of a self-made man, a guy who's just, he's his own player who'd come along and say, "Reckless, I'll lead the way. I'll make the plays. You just follow me, and I'll carry you to the championship." I'm just saying, Fnatic, think about it. Get the money out, get the checkbook out, and then send Broxer over. He can go join like Vitality or something and just farm all day long while Jizuke pushes up his lane. I think I've solved all the LEC's problems. There we go. I started off with Flame and it ended up being legit general manager sort of talk. Not bad.
Jankos, as someone that probably knows Reckless a little bit better than us, how is he like personality-wise nowadays?
I mean, I think in public, I think he's really friendly. He was never like. I was never very close with him, but it always felt like he's friendly to me, and I'm kind of friendly to him. I never like had any grudges against Reckless, and I always thought that he was a really good player, and I hope he thought the same way about me. So I think he has really good work ethic, like Thorin said. He's playing a lot, you can see like he's streaming until like 3-4 a.m. and he's just like spamming solo queue every time. And even if he would not be streaming, he would be doing exactly the same thing. I think this guy plays like the most solo queue out of all the players in LEC. That's actually a tough one. I'm not sure, but I think so. And he's really trying to make his team work. But inside of the team and how he is as a teammate, I don't know. Never played with him. Never had the opportunity to be closer with him. So I can say, maybe he's really bad for his team. Maybe he's really good for his team. Like, just don't know.
Let's go to some of the shitter teams. Like,
well, polite.
What?
I'm sure they'd appreciate being called that. Why don't you just be more polite, Loco? Like, it's just disrespectful. Just say the bad teams. Why do you have to be so hyperbolic? Like, what is it with you in this sort of clickbait language? And fucking, I don't know.
That's
can't get manners anymore, Jankos. Some people are just rude, I guess. So
let's go to some of the
American.
I obviously won't make the joke there. But why are we going to talk about the LCS?
Wow.
Anyway, he obviously means the teams Excel, Rogue, the teams that have done badly.
Let's go to some of the unfortunate teams, some of the lower ranked teams. but still great and still very much part of LEC. Yeah, let's start with Rogue. First up, what do you think about Vander, and who's the top lane that came in?
Finn. It was formerly called Blomstar.
Yeah. What do you think about Vander and Finn coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are really important for the team.
Oh shit!
I think that
Torn disconnected. Give it 1 sec. Okay. Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
I think he's really important for the team for sure. I mean, Vander, because it felt like Rogue was lost and didn't know what to do on the map. And I think with Rogue is that no one was really decisive, and Kikis would sometimes run it down. Like I think in Vitality he was playing very well because he would just invade 24/7 and all of them were playing aggressive. And I think he's type of a player that likes to cheese and that likes those like strong matchups in the jungle where he can actually abuse enemy jungle like level 2, 3 and invade with Trundle or something. And I think Rogue just doesn't allow him to do that because they don't have good enough players and they don't pick for winning lanes, they pick for scaling, so they have some win condition. And I think Kikis has been struggling a lot in Rogue, and I think when they did bring Vander, I don't know how much Finn did bring to the team, but they did bring Vander and it felt like a breath of fresh air because some of the issues they had before were fixed. And I think, they had like their honeymoon phase again with Vander where all the players actually believed that they can start winning again. Mm-hmm. And that's why they were more decisive on stage and they played a better League of Legends. But, for sure they are nowhere of, reaching playoffs or even being a good team. It's just they become less shit, if that makes sense, And I don't want to flame them because I like all of the players personally and I don't mind Rogue at all. Mm-hmm. I just don't think they are good, That's fair.
Indeed wasn't a very good player, let's be fair, Loco. Even when he was in G2, wasn't that great. Come on.
Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to ask.
I'm not hitting, I'm just saying. Just saying how it is.
That's the thing I wanted to ask Jankos about. Like, I mean, you guys had Wadid and Yarnan went to top 4 at Worlds, and then, Wadid is a semi-finalist player, and yeah, that's a big question. Like, how good is Wadid? So I heard stories from veteran, like, Wadid is Hearthstone Diamond something in Europe, like, he's not that great, and as like a teammate, I actually want to ask you, like, where would you rank Wadid? And he got benched off a 10th place LEC team, so yeah, I
think that Wadid is not a type of a player that would carry the team. I think he can follow well and from good players, but I don't think he's someone who would put the team on his back and would like climb the mountain, Mm-hmm. And Rogue is really like they have to climb the mountain because they are like so far behind anyone else. And I think Wadid just doesn't have like the confidence and the strong voice as like a shot caller kind of guy. So even if he does have the knowledge from G2 of last year, he maybe he gave up. I don't know, maybe he wasn't strong enough voice and he was not able to teach his team. And from playing with Wadid, I think that I don't want to say he gave up, but I just think he got tired of repeating the same thing and his team doing the same mistakes maybe. Mm-hmm. Like I remember us trying to teach him and Hjarnan like a lot of things. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying they were like much worse, but I feel like when they came to the team at the beginning of Spring Split last year, we all had to catch up, like Luca was obviously the best because he went to Worlds, he was winning like 4 splits in a row and he would teach us a lot. And I felt like Wadid and Hjarnan were like the ones whom got taught, like they were like learning the slowest, And if I think Wadid has the knowledge right now, or he should have it by now, but maybe he's just not good enough of a teacher to make his team better, because it doesn't look to me like Rogue was improving week by week, and then when they bring Vander, it seems like they are not actually that bad, and they can make plays and they can make decisions and they can actually win games, And I would never consider Vander being better than Wadid, but maybe he is, Like I thought Wadid is better than Vander, but maybe I'm wrong,
Sure. Like, for me, this reminds me of when the Vitality guys did that move and brought Kikis in, where it's not like Kikis is like the best jungler, but they just needed a player who had like some decisive element to his play, some shot calling aspect. Like you need some direction, and obviously that team helps this team as well. Like Vander's not a top support player at the moment. That was many years ago at this point in time, but he definitely knows what he's doing. He's obviously very, very experienced, played with a lot of different players over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
fair
and it
enough.
seems like that's what they needed, because Jankoz coming in from Misfits, what was he really doing in Misfits? He was like on wave clear duty mid lane. So he doesn't actually know how to lead the game probably. And Kiki's same. I mean, I don't think he was really leading the game in Vitality. I mean, maybe he was because he's the jungler, and I think Giant has to lead the game, but it's way different to play in an environment that allows you to play aggressively, punish enemy jungle every time you can, have winning lanes, and then come into a team that's struggling and that actually doesn't win lanes, and you have to turn your mindset from like being aggressive to being more of a supportive role where you lead your team instead of like them being kind of with you and leading the charge together. Like now you have to be like the team captain, you have to man up, and you have to just kind of show your team how to play the game. And yeah, Hikyu, probably the worst AD carry in LEC. I mean, that's what I think at least. And him with Wadid probably like did not win many lanes, and him with Vander, they can play maybe more solid, and maybe then they can play as a team. And then Profit or Finn, they are probably just average, like solid top laners.
The thing that's interesting about both Rogue and Excel is like they're never going to be top teams. Like, they're never going to be in the playoffs, obviously. Like, it'd take a miracle at this point in time, but they definitely can beat the mid-table teams. Like you've seen already, they've had some dangerous games. Like they've posed a threat. So it's not like in the past where it's like whoever's bottom, it's like, oh, well, we won that game if we play them this week. Like just look at the other team. It's like you still have to watch out because that's what's going to be interesting. Since like the middle of the table is so close and is already beating each other, like it will end up obviously being a huge factor. Who doesn't drop a game to Excel and Rogue basically? Because if you beat them completely, that's probably going to be what's going to secure the team its playoff spot.
Okay, I mean, moving to Excel, what the fuck happened to Kasing? I'm not the biggest fan of EU, but when I watched EU, Kasing used to be on like top tier teams, like always referred to as like a top tier support. And then like this year he's on Excel, and Excel's in the gutter along with like Rogue. I would say those are like the two bottom tier teams. Like, so yeah, what the fuck happened to Kasing?
Hey, before we actually start talking about this, I wanted to ask Loco, do you watch NA?
NA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
watch.
do, right?
I watch every game NA.
Okay. And you don't watch EU, but you do watch NA every game.
I watch every game EU except for Splice, Excel, and Rogue games. I watched every game EU except for those three teams.
Okay. Just okay. Well, yeah, I mean,
He actually has some VOD reviews on his YouTube channel. You can go and find the G2 ones and see if he flames you. See if he actually knows what he's talking about. The jungle.
Oh shit!
Yeah, if he isn't, log into your account and then just flame the fuck out of him. Or put like a comment like, "This guy's absolute trash." Knows nothing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will probably look into that. I'm curious now. Like that's how it works. Now he's laughing. You see now he. Well, anyway,
come on.
Excel. I think it's kind of similar story to SK, where the jungler is playing well pretty much every game. Maybe he's not as good as Selfmade is, but he's playing well. Sure. And I think his mid lane. Wait, who is Excel mid laner?
It was Excel first, and they switched to
special now. Okay,
special. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird because except for Sadral, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name.
Kadral, yeah.
Kadral, okay, I'm sorry. I think except for Kadral, they don't have anyone who is strong player, and I think it's not enough for a jungler to be good to actually carry games, and that's how I think they lose. I think Kadral is good, and everyone else is like kind of fine-ish. And I think Expect is good, and I think most of the games they play a lot are on top lane, and that's the only games they won probably, like the two games. Like I think Expect is pretty solid, and I think Kadral is pretty solid, and maybe the rest is not so great. Like you said, Kasing not performing really well lately. AD carry doesn't either, and Special or I think Special is actually worse than the previous mid laner, because I think the previous mid laner had like Exile. He had his games where he would run it down, but I would call him a coin flip player, because he had games where he would actually carry, and he had his games where he would just not play well and lose the game. But Special is like not special at all. And he's just average mid laner, and he's not a coin flip player, but I just don't know if they maybe could use a coin flip player better, even though it sounds weird, because normally a team prefers average player over a coin flip player, but the coin flip player could actually win some games, and the average player will not. And they rely on expect and K-Draw, but that's just not enough. So yeah, sucks.
Exactly. It's not a coin flip. He doesn't have a coin. He's just in a gutter, like, spare some change. He's waiting to get a coin so he can become a coin flip player. So good luck to him. Hope it works out. No, this team's pretty bad, Loco. Like this one, both this team and Rogue, it's logical. They never should be top teams. Like you look at the players they have, the best they have. I mean, fair play. It shows that how strong LEC is. That they, even these teams have like one or two players that are decent or good. They have some promise. Like I know a lot of people are turned off Cadril because obviously Veteran has hyped him so much because he used to be on one of Veteran's teams. But I don't think he's wrong. Like if you actually look at the teams Cadril's played for, he seems like a guy who has a pretty decent understanding of the game. Obviously, he used to be a mid laner and swapped to jungle. Like. He's never going to be like the best jungler, but he seems to actually have like a good mind for what he's doing in the game. It's just this team is terrible. There's nothing to write home about with this team. And I'll say, yeah, fair play. Expect to be playing decent.
Oh, so the thing I wanted to ask about was the 3 rookie mid laners and like kind of how people rank them, because that's always a big question for me, and it's always a fun question. Also, like, did Fnatic get it right and taking Nemesis first? So between Nemesis, Humanoid, and Abadage, like, where do you have them ranked?
Oh, honestly, I have no clue. I would put them all same. All like, I think all of them are kind of good, kind of bad. I mean, all of them are really talented and they have good mechanics. Maybe Abadage has a bit less of good mechanics than Humanoid and
Nemesis.
Nemesis, exactly. I'm sorry. But yeah, all of them are kind of. Like none of them is actually carrying, Like you have 3 rookie mid laners that are just average, and then you have Selfmade that's like a crazy rookie that's just carrying every game for SK, and he's like absolutely good. And then like I said, 3 mid laners that are just like average for their teams. They will not lose the game, they will not win the game, but they will play solid. And I don't think Nemesis will be another Caps, but he's a solid mid laner, that's for sure. I don't think he's like anywhere to be called bad. I think he's probably like top 5, top 4. He's pretty solid. I think Abadage, yeah, he has his games where he was bad, but I think he can perform well on certain champions. And he's not a coin flip player. He will not lose it again. He will. I mean, except for maybe the games they lost as jungle mid, but like normally he's pretty fine on average. And Humanoid, I think. Yeah, he's playing well in Splice as well, I mean, they have 7 wins, and I don't know who made them win those games. So hopefully Humanoid did something, Hopefully he was playing well. That's what I think. I think all of them are just fine. No one special. Like none of them is special, but all of them are just fine.
Okay. So, I mean, a huge question that anyone always asks a G2 member or a TL member is, if you guys do meet in Rift Rivals, be in an MSI, do you think you have a good shot versus TL? Like, how do you view TL like versus yourself? Because honestly, like, it's not even, I would say, looking that forward. Like, both G2 and TL are a good head above everyone else in their own league. So you kind of look overseas and you kind of look at, hey, who else is good? Hey, who am I going to be playing at MSI?
I don't know what will happen because there's still a lot of time until MSI or until Rift Rivals, and who knows if TL or G2 will be there. But I mean, if we would play each other next week, I think we would win. I would be going like very confident in the matchup. I already played against TL last year during Rift Rivals, and back then they obviously had Pobelter instead of Jensen. But right now we also have Caps, and we still have Perks, but he's just playing bot lane. And I think all of our players are just better. I mean, people could argue about Doublelift Perks, or maybe Core JJ Mikey, because I feel like Doublelift and Core JJ are like huge names, and they are probably considered the best duo lane in NA. And I think, Xmiffy is probably like the smartest jungler in NA, and then Jensen is for sure the best mid laner in NA, and then
for sure
is playing tanks, right? So I think obviously Wunder would win against Impact. Especially if Team Liquid would open Jace, there was just no hope for Impact. He would lose the tower very fast. And then I think Caps will deal with Jensen. No problem whatsoever either. I think Caps is better. I think I would deal with Xmiffy as best as I could. Like when I'm doing the tier list, I never like to talk about myself. So I think I would just play my game and I would just hope that I can play well. And then I think duo line wouldn't have problems either, And I think what Perks has over Doublelift is that he has like wider champion pool. He can play a lot of APs except for the ADs he plays. So the only way Team Liquid would win the game is probably if they through bot lane, but I still consider Perix and Mikey a better bot lane. Maybe because I'm, in that team, so I just have like this feeling towards them that they are the best. But at the same time, yeah, I would say that we would win against Team Liquid probably like 3 out of like 4 games,
Okay. Dude, and one other thing I have to ask you is like, are you always this like, I guess, humble and polite and careful? Because when I watch you on mic check, like you're kind of crazy. Like
he isn't with his teammates, but this way he's always talking shit to them all the time, right?
Yeah, I'm friendly towards strangers. I mean, not like you guys are strangers.
Sure.
Sure. I don't want to like. I mean, I like to be cocky and I like to shit talk, but not like. I mean, if we are like being kind of serious and doing like a serious interview, I don't want to like be crazy, because that's how I am with my teammates that I know and they accept me for it. But if I'm like being like really crazy everywhere I go, then I don't know how would I end up, But yeah, I'm kind of not that normal as right now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I've told Loco on like a past show that anecdote where like when you were playing with Ryu, you were just like opening that like faker 1v1 kill on his computer when he would come back in the room. So he would like come over and look. But there's another story people don't know. Before that, when Jankos was on Rockout with Nukeduck, famously, Nukeduck got knocked out of the LCS by Rockout back when it was called like KMT, when it was all the Polish players and they first came into the LCS. And I remember asking in an interview, like, do you ever bring that up to Nukeduck? And he was saying like, oh yeah, me and Vandra just banter him about that all the time as well. So if you're in a team with Jankos, there's going to be banter. You have to understand. Yeah. What's great is people don't know this.
It's really fun.
But Jankos and Perks used to flame each other before they were in the same team. On Twitter, they were always going at each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, right now we are flaming each other as well. I mean, not publicly, right? We still
sure.
The team. I meme about, I think it was 16G2 where they lost Albus North and CLG. That's like everyday meme.
Of course.
He memes about me being like bad and like, I know some other stuff. Like he has like his things that he's telling me about. But now Caps also joins in. Like Caps is actually like kind of a guy who likes to have a good laugh. So, and Wunder has a really good banter. Like I think he has a lot of underrated tweets on Twitter. I think he has pretty good jokes, So I think our team cohesion is just insane. Like we are like so fit together, if I could call it like that.
Dorian, anything you want to bring up?
That's pretty good. Oh, yeah. Well, the one obvious thing to ask is this, right, Loco? So, in your team, Jankos, you've got Perks, who's won 4 LCS titles. You've got Caps, who's won a few LCS titles. All these good players, Jankos hasn't got an LCS title yet. Well, now's the time.
It feels like this year, yeah.
This is the year, right?
I'm sure this is probably like the best year of my career so far. I know it before it even like ended. Like I know that this year is like my best shot at actually winning stuff, because I mean I have great players in my team and I still consider myself really good. So I think this is the year that I will lead the trophy.
Because here's the thing, Loco. Here's the thing. There's 2 things will happen, Loco. Either Jankos will finally win an LCS trophy and it'll complete his story, or next year you'll see an article from the players' lobby and it'll be like, the trophy can't define me. It'll be like, by Jankos, like the story of my LCS career, like I just played to be a great player. I wasn't trying to, go after trophies or glory. I was just trying to be a good teammate, and win or lose, I can respect what I did in my career. That's the angle you have to take if you don't win. Like if you win, then what you do is you're like, trophies are all that matter. Everyone who, Memento, you don't have a trophy, you're fucking garbage. But if you don't win, you go, it's not about just glory, guys. It's about just being a good teammate. You have to spin it the right way.
I think you have point. I think I would do that. I don't know. Like, I mean, I had ups and downs in my career, and this is for sure one of the ups right now. I think this roster is like really stacked. So I'm so happy playing scrims as well. That's like outside of everything else. Like every day I wake up, I'm like grateful by the fact that I play scrims with those players and not other ones. I just know that we will perform well, and even if we don't, we will learn, and everyone is like really hungry to actually become better. And we feel really bad after we win, but we don't win decisively, or when we don't win in a clean game, when we have like a 30 in the game, like disgusting game. So it makes me, I mean, for example, last week we had a talk after we played against some team, and I actually felt like we lost because of how like many mistakes apparently we made. Like it was crazy, I felt like first I felt happiness, or like not happiness, just relief that we won. I'm not happy anymore. I'm like too old for it. When I leave the trophy, I'll be happy, but right now I just feel relief when we win. And then like when we started talking about the game, my mood went down and down because of like, actually, yeah, like we fucked up, guys. You know, like we won the game in 25 minutes, but we actually fucked up. So I'm kind of happy to play scrims and to perform in this team. You know, it's insane.
Were you not close to winning on H2K? Like you guys went to semis at Worlds. I thought you guys were a good team on H2K.
No, we were actually pretty shit. I mean, we went to semis, I guess, in during Worlds. I mean, we were not shit. It's just we couldn't really. No, actually, like we couldn't really improve that much. Like we were stuck in like the same mindset or like the same game plan, I would say, during H2K times, like 2016, and then 2017 we were like even worse than that because we added like Nuclear and Chain to our roster, and I think at some point it felt like we gave up as a team. That was really, really sad at the end of summer split. So yeah, I mean, it was a good shot for sure, and it was like a upside of my career as well because in Rocket in 2015 I was nowhere close to be at semis of Worlds. You know, like with H2K I was for the first time during Worlds, and you know everyone was performing really well during Worlds, and that's how we went so far, and we lost to the finalists. But I don't think we were close to winning the trophy itself, you know.
Oh, people always also ask about Forgiven coming back in summer. Oh, Forgiven's going to join Rogue, and what is it? It's going to turn things around. I mean, that's a separate question if Forgiven will even come back or not. But do you think if Forgiven joins
I don't know if you know this, Loco, but I'm just going to give you a bit of insight here. But Jankos isn't the biggest fan of Forgiven, actually. They sort of don't like each other.
Okay.
Sort of, yeah.
Just sort of, you know. Like, put it this way.
Uh-huh.
Like, Jankos is one of the reasons why there was one point in time where Forgiven wasn't on H2K for a while,
shit.
put it that way.
Fuck, I didn't know.
They didn't get along, you know.
I mean, yeah, we didn't really. Back then I was also with my emotions, and yeah, I didn't like few things, and he didn't like few things either, and he's an emotional guy too. So yeah, we had our struggles.
Oh shit.
I don't know which team would he join, but certainly he would make a better AD carry than Hikyu if he would join, Rogue, for example. So I'm kind of curious, you know, because he was always considered like the lane bully and the type of a guy who would take your tower, and now there's tower turret plates that you get additional gold from. So if he brings like the same playstyle as he had back in season 6
Lane Kingdom.
or 7, yeah, Lane Kingdom playstyle basically, then it would be kind of interesting, you know. Like,
sure.
I mean, I'm not a fan of him, and I don't really hate him, and I'm not a fan of him either. But I'm curious, you know. If he joins, I will probably watch his games. You know, I will see like how well he can actually do now.
Okay.
Sure. Loco, I actually talked to Forgiven on this topic. So
Yeah.
the thing is, he is thinking about coming back, but this is what people don't understand.
shit.
I've seen a
Oh,
lot
shit.
of Reddit comments that are like, well, who would he join? You know, like only teams like Rogue would be available.
Doran
Like
leaks.
you guys haven't thought it through. Like, first of all, he will either join a team that has some potential, like good players, or the other option that people don't realize is he will go to like the Turkish league and just get mega paid.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking mega paid. So like, I wouldn't worry about it if I were you guys. It'll either be a decent LEC team or he'll be off in Turkish league just making money farming fucking tier 7 Koreans that used to be in LCK about 4 years ago. So I wouldn't worry about that. And by the way, it'll have to be in the future, and we'll have to craft the episode. He says he doesn't watch LEC much at the moment, but we will have him on this show at one point in time.
Okay.
One point
That's
in time.
in
the future.
That's kind of interesting as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how good he would make of a player. Like, play for like 2 years now, right? He was in the army for like 2 years. So if he can like come back to his glory, and then we can like see the old Forgiven, that would be kind of, I guess, good. And it would also showcase like how talented is he, because if you don't play the game for 2 years and then still come back and be good at the game, that's kind of like interesting. But also I don't think he like, even if he comes back to his glory as a player where he would 2v3 the lanes, I still think he had other issues with team play and with being aware of what to do on the map. But yeah, I'm interested for sure. I would watch. I would tune in I would grab my popcorn and my Coke. And
Sure. like here's the thing, Loco. Since obviously like no one's going back and watching old episodes of Summoning Insight from like 3 years ago, I'll tell an anecdote that Jankos actually told when he came on Summoning Insight, which is when he used to play in H2K with Forgiven. I was asking like, oh, it must be really hard to play with Forgiven because, you know, he must be demanding like jungler just comes bot all the time because, you know, Forgiven's famous meme is he just complains on Twitter like, oh, it was 2v3 every game. So as a result, you would think based on that he wants the jungler to come to the bot lane 24/7 and gank like Piglet does, right? But actually the story that Jankos told was more ridiculous than that, which is Jankos said like in the game he was thinking the same thing. Like he saw like, you know, the enemy junglers going bot, so he was trying to match like, right, I'll come down and match, and then Forgiven was just saying like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? I can win this 2v3. You should be getting camps. And he was flaming him for actually coming to match the gank because in Forgiven's mind he was going to win 2v3 anyway, so you should be getting ahead in the jungle by getting more camps. So like, imagine trying to play with a player like that. It's pretty hard. That's a pretty insane standard to hold someone to.
Impressive, but like kind of not great at the same time. You know?
Sure.
Like it's kind of like if he can, that's a team, you know. But at the same time, if like he doesn't like allow you to help him, that's actually pretty bad, you know, because maybe he would actually be able to like snowball the game harder or something. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he has his moments, and we'll see.
Anything else that I wanted to end on? Oh, so what is it? I'm not sure how true it is, but you kind of have like a rep as like Jankos is a choker, right?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I had this rep for sure. Yeah, I had this rep. I think. Well, for sure in H2K. I don't know if I did bring it with me in G2. Maybe I did. But yeah, I did have a reputation like that.
I mean, he didn't look like you were choking when you were playing Royal Never Give Up. So
yeah, I mean, had a great world.
Yeah, nice.
Pretty good.
I don't think
actually, let's ask you about that then. Did that actually change like how you see the game? Because even though every year, like whoever's the top team in Europe, whoever's the top team in America, they obviously have to say in interviews like, "Oh yeah, I believe we could win worlds." You know, yeah, I believe we could beat the best teams. But like, I know from talking to some of those players behind the scenes, like. Some of them don't really believe it, you know. They just say it, like they hope it can happen. Like they still in their mind do think that, like, you know, the best Korean team is the best team in the world. The best Chinese team is probably better. So did it change anything to actually be able to take down? Like they were the favorite for the entire tournament, if people remember. So it's pretty crazy to beat them, right?
I mean, when we did play against them, we didn't think about winning. We just thought that we will play the game and like give it all we got, kind of. And then when we actually won, like, okay, after the first game where we lost, and I would like press tab and I would see my bot lane being like 56 behind 10 minutes, I would be like, holy fuck, like this is really lost, you know, like we can win this. But then after second game, we played through mid and top, and then somehow like we had insane solo lanes at the snowball. And then like at the same time, even though Hyana would like be a bit behind in CS, they wouldn't actually lose bot, you know, they wouldn't die, you know, they wouldn't like just let Uzi snowball the game. They would just not win because Uzi is just really good, you know. And then fifth game, for example, Duo Lane played absolutely crazy, and they actually won the game against UZI, and they carried the game. I mean, Perix did with his LeBlanc, but like they kind of did the part. They won the line. They made some good ganks. They made some good plans. So it was crazy. Yeah, I mean, I was really happy. And I after we won against them, I believed that we can also win against IG, but they proved me wrong. They proved me wrong very, very fast. It was a quick BO5, same as finals, you know, they kind of destroyed us. Jace was left unbanned 2 games, and the only game we banned Jace, we were ahead in the early game, but we were already, I think, too weak mentally or something, and we threw the lead, you know. I think in the third game, if the third game would be the first game, I think we would win that game. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. Maybe they're just like that good, but yeah, they were really insane at snowballing, especially in first, second game. And then third game, we just played really bad, so they won, even though we had the lead. But against RNG, it felt really good, yeah. It felt really, really good.
Sure. Loco, I've actually got a quick anecdote for you on this, because here's what's mad. I normally don't get caught up in all the hype when a team's doing really well and have like a sick run through a tournament, you know. I'm normally like, in fact, actually in CSGO, it's kind of famous that I'm like the person who's sort of like, if there's like an underdog team that's doing way better than they should, everyone else wants to believe like, no, they're like the new top team, you know, they're going to be great. I'm sort of the guy normally like, come on, man, nah, they're going to like drop off soon. Someone's going to beat them, you know, like they're overrated. But what's mad is when they actually beat RNG G2, I actually secretly got super into it, and so I actually sent this like mad DM to Perks but the night before they played IG, where I sent him this like I tried to do like the most epic movie speech ever. Like I was telling him like you are one of the greatest players Europe has ever produced. It is in your bloodline to defeat the great Korean players. Just because Rookie is a god, he can still be defeated in the game. Who cares who he is? Let him take his titles. Like I had all this mega inspirational shit, and I was saying like, you can do this. Like, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Believe in yourself. And then obviously, like I won't say what Perk said, but basically he just sort of like said, yeah, don't worry, I got this. And then after the game, obviously when they just got 3-0, I just messaged like, oh well, my bad. It's like the one moment I let myself hope, Loco, it just got destroyed completely. Oh well, whatever.
It was a tough semi-final, yeah. But you see, I still got more semi-finals than NA does, no?
Yeah, just you personally.
Yeah, you have 2, right?
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I have 2. Okay. NA has 1, right? Because of Cloud9.
Yeah, because of Cloud.
Actually, I can't believe Fnatic played Cloud9 in semis. Like that's so unbelievable.
Bullshit, isn't it? It's bullshit.
Like wow. Like Cloud9, I mean Cloud9 was pretty decent. I mean, but they for the final, like you're playing Cloud9 for the final. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean IG was like so much better than.
Yeah, you're salty because you got to play IG, the best team in the tournament, and you're like, fuck, they got to play an NA team.
No, because think about it, right? Look who Jankos had to play. He had to play RNG and then Invictus Gaming. Like Fnatic had to play EDG and Cloud9. Like is this some sort of like mad Make-A-Wish Foundation go to the finals of Worlds? What is this? Why is everyone just letting this little kid go? What is this?
Do you think
that's the end of the episode? We
wait.
Is the last question?
Wait, do you think you would have beat Cloud9 if you were on the other bracket?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think so. I think so. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be like a 3-0. For sure, like that BO5 3-1 or 3-2, we would win. Absolutely. And I think during that Worlds, we would. Actually, this is maybe too cocky. I will not say we would beat Fnatic because Fnatic was better than us for the entirety of the year. But I think during those Worlds, we could beat Cloud9 for sure. Yes.
Okay. How do you think the matchup would have versus? I guess you would only play Fnatic in like finals if you get like for some mad reason if Fnatic beat IG or the other way around. But how do you think the matchup would have gone? As you said, like they were better than you for the rest of the year. But I think for that Worlds itself, Perks actually looked way better than Caps, and Caps actually was struggling a lot. So I would have been very curious to see how you guys would have matched up if you guys actually met.
I mean, when we had the drawings to quarters. I think they put our name with Fnatic. Like we thought we will face Fnatic, and then they moved us to RNG. So when they actually like put our name with Fnatic, we were really happy about playing Fnatic because we'll play Fnatic over anyone else during that time. From I think KT and RNG that is. And I think the games. I mean, I honestly think we would have a shot to win. Like even though we were worst for the entire year. During those Worlds, we were like pretty good at the game. Like we had a good grasp of the meta, and our AD carry would play some unconventional picks like Brand.
Dinger, yeah,
Heimerdinger. Like that was a must ban, Like I mean, I think people like that was a must ban. Like it's so weird, no? Like even UZI they want to play against Hjarnan Heimerdinger. Like that's how crazy it was. So I think we will have a shot, I mean, obviously people would not give us Heimerdinger ever again during Worlds. I don't think so, but I think we'll have a shot at beating Fnatic, and I think we would win against Cloud9. I don't want all the Americans to hate me because I said a lot of harsh words about NA, I think, during this interview.
And when you turn bad, you're gonna come to NA, so you want to make sure you still have NA fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is exactly what is my point. So I'm very sorry. I love food and your bacon and burgers and like girls and everything, but I think I mean you have also good teams and good players for sure, and most of it was banter. But I think I will still win against them.